Hi, welcome to I Tried to Eat My Phone. I am Karen Jaworski, and I'm joined by my dear friend Mark today, and we're going to talk sports. Mark, what can I just as apropos to the time that we're in, how do you feel about the effect that COVID has had on college sports especially, but sports in general? Like, do you how do you think we're going to bounce back from this in terms of like the sports contingency for kids and for colleges and stuff? Where do we go from here?
Great question. I think just Sunday, just in our state, they made another announcement that
Mm.
restrictions have come back down, and sports have been suspended for a minimum of 3 weeks. And so a lot of those, just talking high school now, but a lot of those kids who are in the middle of state tournaments or just getting ready to wrap up their state tournament, they're on hold, and there's no guarantee that they're going to be able to finish that. So, like for instance, like the local school where I live, they just won their district championship, so they were getting ready to play the regional game coming up this week, and now everything's on hold. So, I think you ask about what the impact is, and I think the biggest thing is kind of like just like the mental health of
Mm.
young people, and that even carries over to college too. I mean, you know, those young people, they're just a little bit older than high school kids, right? So they're only 19, 20, 21, whatever it might be,
Mm.
and they go to that school for a reason: one, to get an education, but two, to also enjoy that experience of playing collegiate athletics. And when that's yanked out from underneath you, it's tough. I mean, it's tough mentally, probably the most part. Physically, obviously they like to get their outlets and be able to play their
Mm.
game, but mentally, the whole part of being part of the team, and then the camaraderie, and everything
Mm.
getting shut down, and you're doing everything virtual and Zoom meetings and things like that. It takes a toll on these kids, whether you're in high school or college. And frankly, you know, I wish I had a crystal ball, but I don't necessarily see this thing just like wrapping up anytime soon. I could
Yeah.
see it like it being a little bit different, levels like every year. It might be maybe
Mm.
not as much next year, not for the following year, but I don't just see it just disappearing, and us just being back to normal anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is tough. I mean, and it's such a roller coaster too, I think, for a lot of these teams where they're playing and then suddenly there's a shutdown and then they're playing again and then there's a shutdown. And that's going to be tough on the psyche too, as like as an athlete, I would think.
Definitely, because like you get mentally prepared to play every week, and then next thing you know, you're on break, so to speak, and you have to kind of find a way to stay ready during that off time.
Yeah.
And if they take the ability to be with your team away, it's all on you. You got to do whatever you can to kind of stay ready, whether it's doing push-ups and calisthenics in your dorm room or wherever it
Yeah.
might be. But there's no time to get with your team, and that's where you get the most development, and that's where you develop your actual team camaraderie, is through those workout sessions, and
Yeah.
through those opportunities to be together.
Yeah. What was your trajectory for getting into sports? Like I mean, were you pretty little when you kind of got the bug to be
No,
involved?
so sports has kind of been a part of my life pretty much since I was a little kid. Just real quick background, like my dad, he uh, he played college sports. He was a pretty good athlete. He played football and wrestled and some other things, but he played college football at a small school in Wisconsin called University of Wisconsin River Falls. And
Okay.
just growing up, my dad was a Marine Corps FBI agent, and just kind of when I became, I don't know, five, maybe, I started doing something like some kind of sports. I think kindergarten was when I started playing hockey, and I only played about 2 years of hockey, but I really liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you know much about hockey. You probably do more than me. But
Yeah.
like it's super expensive. Like it's super expensive, and
Yes.
it's a lot of time involvement and things like that. So we kind of made a family decision that we're going to kind of move into a different realm. And I started playing basketball in second grade.
Okay.
And I played basketball my entire life, until I graduated high school. I started playing soccer when I was younger. I really, really enjoyed soccer. I played some pretty, semi high level soccer up through like sixth grade. And then it got to a point where I was a good player, but not good enough to be on the elite teams. And so guys on my team kind of encouraged me. They say, you're pretty fast, you're pretty athletic, you're a pretty physical guy. You should think about trying out for football. So I went out for football that next year in seventh grade, and then I played football through college. So
Yeah.
had a good experience with football. I started out with DeWitt ShopRite Panthers. We had some great teams. A lot of guys I ended up playing against in high school. Some of the good players from the other schools in Lansing.
Yeah.
But it was a really, really good program. And then obviously just growing up in East Lansing, you're thinking about the opportunity to play for the legend Jeff Smith, when you get to high school, and that was a big deal. So, I was fortunate to be able to play for him, for 2 seasons. And because of the success we had and some of the exposure that we got that last year, I was able to get an opportunity to play in college, and had a pretty solid career at Eastern Michigan. And it's been a big part of my life, my whole life. And what it's really done is it's given me opportunities in other areas as well. In fact, I wouldn't have met my wife if it wasn't for sports. I wouldn't have been in the position I'm in my job if it wasn't for sports. So it's something's been, had an impact on me in a lot of different areas.
Did you wrestle at East Lansing?
Basketball the entire time. So,
Okay.
Andy Beam's dad was the head coach.
Yeah,
Don
that's
Beam.
right. Okay.
And every year he would, ask me, say, yeah, you need to come out for wrestling. You need to come out for wrestling. Because I was always pretty, quick and kind of tough and stuff. And I was like, man, I didn't play basketball since I was, a little kid. That's what I love to do. I still play basketball. So
Yeah.
I never wrestled. I think I would have been pretty good if I wrestled, but basketball was my game. Football was my first love, and basketball was my second. And I just played that all my life.
Yeah. It should be mentioned here that Mark was part of the state championship team when we were in high school, which was a very, very exciting. I remember making the trip over to the Silver Dome for that. That was pretty exciting.
Definitely when it comes to athletic memories, it's definitely tops on my list.
Yeah.
Easily number one. And then number two for me would be when I was awarded the scholarship at Eastern Michigan. My parents were there, and it was a pretty cool deal, because I was a preferred walk-on when I started, and then to earn the scholarship, based on my merit and my performance was pretty cool.
That's cool. Forgive my memory. Who did you guys play in the championship?
Birmingham Brother Rice.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
A really, a major power football team in the state of Michigan. And I'm not sure a lot of people thought we had a chance, especially going into the playoffs. We struggled a couple games in the regular season until we kind of got our lineup tweaked up.
Yeah.
But once we got to the playoffs, we were rolling pretty good. And we were tough to score on. It's funny we're having this conversation today because Tommy Sutherth and I, we were texting back and forth the other day, and we were just talking. And we were talking about how good the team is this year because they're excellent this year. It's a fantastic
Are they?
team.
That's great.
Oh, they're fantastic, and they definitely have a really good chance to make a run at the state championship if they get to go back and play. But anyway, so they're averaging their whole season. They're averaging giving up 4 points a game on defense. And
wow.
Yeah, they're lights out. Rufus Jackson's middle son is one of the good players on the team, and
really, oh my
gosh,
yeah.
And then there's a couple guys on the team that are sons of opponents that we played against in Lansing. So there's a lot of connection there. So it's kind of cool.
That's cool. We're not old enough to have that happen.
I know,
didn't
right?
think.
I know.
Right?
So they're averaging 4 points a game on defense.
Wow,
And
that's incredible.
So I was talking to Tommy, and once we kind of got our things kind of worked out, and we tweaked some things. We averaged about 6 points a game the last 8 games of the season.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool.
That's cool. No, that was an exciting time. I do remember that being so so special. And I felt like, just from what I knew of the team, and part of this was writing up stuff for the yearbook that year, was it just, the camaraderie on your team seemed, it was palpable. Like,
It was
you were
definitely
all,
special. There's a large group of us that are still, super tight and stay in
okay.
touch, and group texts and things like that. But you know, the year before, when I was a junior, like, talent wise, we probably had more talent, like
Mhm.
D1 guys and things like that.
Mhm.
But the camaraderie on that 91 team was just, it was special, and it really carried us to, the success that we had.
Yeah. Yeah. I do you feel like, as a parent, do you kind of do you feel like a guidance with your kids to do sports, or do you let them kind of do their own thing, or kind of, where do you kind of put yourself as a parent in
That's
with
a good question. I
sports?
mean, I think sports, really does a great job of, teaching life lessons, and, giving you an opportunity to get
Mhm.
exposed to meeting new people, and, learning how to build relationships, and, that kind of thing. And we don't like force it down our kids. We don't definitely say, "Oh, you're playing sports." It's not like that. But if they show interest in anything, we're definitely encouraging them to do that. We want them to try whatever they want to try. And if it's something that sticks, great. If it doesn't stick, then we'll try something else. Um, my I got twin 10-year-olds, and both of them, enjoy doing different things. My one, she really is getting into softball quite a bit, and she's taking that pretty seriously, and she's working pretty hard, which is fun to see. My other twin, she is into tennis and a little bit of basketball. Um, and then my oldest, she doesn't like sports, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But we're trying to just make sure that they have something that they can do where they enjoy, and they can, be proud of. And I just, I think sports is a great thing to do that. I think it's like I said, an opportunity to meet new people, develop friendships, things like that. So we
Yeah.
we encourage it. We don't, force it.
Yeah, where I want to speak to the fact that you have been, and your wife have been, very involved with Special Olympics, which is something that's very important to me, obviously. But what got you involved in that? I know, didn't you kind of meet through that? But what got you
Well,
involved in that?
so my future wife and I, we had just been dating like maybe a few months, and her mother was a special education teacher, and very
Mm,
involved with Special Olympics. And so one day, like I said, dating like 3 months, maybe 3 4 months, and one day, Trisha, my wife, she invited me to a basketball practice for Special Olympics. So I'd
mm,
never done anything at Special Olympics up to that time, and so I went, and my mother-in-law, bless her heart, she made an announcement at the beginning of practice, and she says, "We've got a special guest here today, and he's going to be your new head coach." And I was like, "Whoa, wait, what?" And you know what? I just ran with it,
I like
and
her already. That's awesome.
she's fantastic. She's amazing. And from that point on, I coached that team for like I think 6 or 7 years straight, and just got involved with summer games and spring games and winter games and all those different things of volunteering. And it's had a tremendous impact on me and my family. My kids are involved, and my mother-in-law just stepped down from being the director of Special Olympics for Washington County. She did it for about 6 or 7 years, so she just stepped down like this year. So it's been a big part of my life.
I think that's wonderful. I feel like that sense of camaraderie and teamwork and effort is definitely not wasted on that population. I think that that's maybe almost more embraced by a lot of them than, I mean, speaking for my sister, that's always, I mean, that kind of
Compete.
ability.
Like they just want to have a chance. They just want to
Yeah.
compete and go out there, and they could care. They love winning, But if they
Yeah.
get a fifth place medal, they're just as excited as the first place medal. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
I just want to be out there and compete and do my best. And we've had
Yeah.
so many fantastic experiences with Special Olympics, and made really close, friendships and relationships with some of the kids, and just been,
Yeah.
it's just amazing situation for us.
As a father who is really, had a great experience with sports, with your daughters, kind of, I was thinking like the role of women in sports lately, especially with this, Kimberly Ing or whatever, who is now the general
Sure.
manager
Yeah,
of the
that's pretty sweet.
Marlins.
Yeah.
And watching that happen was kind of, I was very moved by that this week, because I thought, wow, like that's great that, she has stepped into this role. So how do you kind of portray that to your girls, like the importance of, if they're interested in it, but the importance that they can play as an athlete?
We try to, we try to, I guess, emphasize to our kids that, they can do anything they want to do. We
Mhm.
don't put any restrictions on them or any limitations on them. To your point about the general manager, I mean, I read a little bit about that whole story. And it was a pretty cool story, about how she started out as an intern
Mhm.
and just grinded. I mean, she just grinded and worked her way up and worked her way up and worked her way up. And just to see it finally come to fruition for her, break through that ceiling, that's pretty awesome. And
Yeah.
it's just another example that we can show our daughters that, anything's possible if you just keep working hard and grind.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sports has a good role in doing that, kind of showing you like, look at what you can achieve. I mean, I think it's a great component of that learning experience, in life.
Didn't mention, I probably was remiss in doing so, but so my wife is a Division One athlete also. She played
Oh,
softball at Eastern Michigan, and what's funny is we never met at Eastern Michigan.
huh,
We crossed over 2 years, and we never met. So we met like 2 years after I graduated college,
uh-huh.
um, at a workplace, and we found out all these things we had in common and mutual friends and all this other stuff. But we didn't meet in college, which is kind of ironic. But yeah, she was a Division One athlete too. She was an outstanding pitcher. 4 years varsity, softball pitcher in high school. 4 years varsity tennis. So there's a lot of athletic background in the family.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it pans out down the road.
Yeah. No, that's great. I I was thinking, I we were talking about, previous to me starting recording, we were talking about kind of the, style of play on different teams and stuff. And do you feel like when you look across the spectrum of sports, and with there was like, the Masters was this weekend and all this kind of stuff, like,
Yeah.
do you feel like, do you or have you had a sports hero or someone that you thought, wow, I'd like to be like that person?
Growing up, I was a huge fan of Mike Singletary.
Ah,
He was a
uh-huh.
linebacker for the Chicago
Yeah,
Bears. Obviously won the Super Bowl in '85 or '86, whatever it was.
yeah.
And I just really like admired him as a player, but also like off the field too. Like he was a Christian guy, strong faith. Um, just kind of tried to do things the right way, set an example for his team. And then when you read about him, like in college, like the guy was averaging like 25 tackles a game, and he was like, this is a really funny statistic about him. So when he played at Baylor, during the course of his college career, he broke 18 helmets, like his own, like 18 helmets. He broke them because he was hitting so hard and
Oh,
leading with his crown of his head, probably, which he shouldn't do, obviously. But he would
yeah.
he would he would hit people so hard that the impact would eventually cause his helmet to break.
Wow.
So he broke 18 of them over the course of his college career.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That is interesting. I
Pretty
never,
unusual.
I mean, when I picture his hits, like I can get that. Like,
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, I would definitely say him. Definitely one of my role models that I really really admired. Trying to think who else. Um,
I
oh,
mean,
I
I
mean,
know I oh, go ahead.
I was just saying in terms of like coaching, like I really admire like Tony Dungy.
Mm,
Um, I really respect and admire like Dabo Swinney.
yeah.
Um, just guys that do things the right way,
Mhm.
on and off the field, and that have a lot of times have taken things that weren't that strong and just built it up into like a powerhouse.
Yeah. Well, I think too, when I think back on on your high school team, I mean, Jeff Smith, I mean, what a guy. Um, and I'm sure you learned a lot from him.
I mean, as far as like influential males in my life growing up, besides my dad, I mean, he would be number two.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would be number two. I mean, um, that was a team to play for. And it was a special program. I mean, besides Coach Smith, the other people on the staff were fantastic too. Coach Piotr, Coach Gibbs,
Yeah.
all those guys. They were just fantastic, fantastic men.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were just great examples of men for young people.
Yeah.
And I feel very fortunate to have had them as coaches.
Yeah. What was Piotr's first name? Jim? No, John? Jim?
Jack,
Jack.
no Jack.
Jack. Jack.
Yeah,
Okay. I was like, I knew there was a
yeah,
J there. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
he
Jack, it was
he
Jack
was a
Piotr.
nice guy. Yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic. And then it was
Yeah.
You were probably thinking of Jim Bamford. Jim Bamford was the other one.
Yes. Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. Oh gosh.
yeah,
Yeah. Coach
yeah.
Bamford. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. No, you did. You had some great leadership there. I could see where that was highly influential. And yeah, what a fun time that was. And the fact that it came to fruition in a state championship was pretty awesome.
I could probably talk all day about that team just because it was that cool. But just to kind of give you, because it's hard to remember all the things that happened, but I'll just give you a quick rundown. So
Yeah.
we lose the opening week. We get smoked by Ann Arbor Pioneer. They kill us
Right.
at at,
Okay.
at home, and we're kind of like, what the heck just happened? And then we played some mediocre teams and won like three in a row. And then we played Sexton, which is always good,
Mhm.
crosstown rival. And once again, smoked us. They smoked us. And that was at home also. And so now it's like put up or shut up time. It's like time. If we don't get this thing right, like we're not gonna do anything. So there was a couple of adjustments made in the lineup. Moved Billy Cheeseman to outside linebacker. I moved into
Yeah.
defensive line. It was a lot of things, that little moving parts. And then we just hit a rhythm. And it started with the Grand Ledge game. They were 5-0 and we were 3-2. And it was their homecoming, and we just went in there and just put a beat down on them. And then from that point on, we just kind of rolled through. So it was a pretty
Yeah.
cool experience.
Wow.
Oh, and then last thing, like I said, I could talk about this a lot. But so back in those days, playoffs were a lot different. It was based on points in the region, and only four teams
Okay.
per region made the playoffs. That's it, four teams. And
Wow.
so, in order for us to make the playoffs that year, like four or five things had to happen. Like we had to win, such and such team had to lose, the other team had to lose. All these things had to happen, and we wouldn't have made the playoffs if those things didn't happen. And once we made the playoffs, we're like, we finally got the opportunity. Let's make the most of it. Let's roll with it. So it was pretty cool.
Wow. I didn't realize that was the setup. Like yeah. Who do you think was our biggest rival? I mean, I do remember Sexton being like a big deal whenever we would play them, but
Sexton was definitely our biggest rival. Up in that time. We just had the hardest time with those guys. They always had so much speed and
Mhm.
so many good athletes. In fact, the 4 years that I was at East Lansing, I only beat Sexton once, and that was my sophomore year.
Wow.
We lost to him freshman year. We lost to him in, I think it was overtime my junior year, and then, like I said, we got smoked my senior year. So
Wow. Hmm.
they have that claim to fame that they smoked us the year we won the state championship. So yeah.
That I mean, it really was special. I do remember being there. I can picture I was sitting in the stands with Stephanie Rummel. The two of us drove over together to
Yeah.
go see everything, and it was pretty exciting. So, thanks for that experience. That was fun.
Walk down memory lane.
Yeah, no kidding. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you talking tonight. This was fun.
For sure. Definitely.
Thanks.